Now, we continue with First Chronicles, again from the Old Testament, chapter 22, and this is, when David is dying, and it says at verse 5, David said, "My son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for the Lord should be of great magnificence and fame and splendor in the sight of all the nations." Solomon, Suleiman, will build the house of the Lord, the temple. "Therefore I will make preparations for it." So David made extensive preparations before his death. Then he called for his son Solomon and charged him to build a house for the Lord, the God of Israel. David said to Solomon, "My son, I had it in my heart to build a house for the name of the Lord my God." Now, again, I want you to note the phrase, "My son, I have it in my heart to build a house for the name of the Lord my God." For the name. And, just note it for later. "But this word of the Lord came to me. You have shed much blood and have fought many wars. You are not to build a house for my name, because you have shed much blood on the earth in my sight. But you will have a son who will be a man of peace and rest, and I will give him rest from all his enemies." So, King David, the Lord says to him, not that he's a bad person, an unbeliever. He's actually the highest figure. It's a figure of the Messiah. But he shed much blood. It's clearly stated, you're a human, you're a sinner. It doesn't matter how good you are in your heart, no one is perfect in the eyes of the Lord. That's the point. And that's the same for Muhammad. That notion of infallibility of a human being and being an example for all the ages it's even worse, I think, than the, from when the Pope talks like to all the congregation, he has infallibility because his rules are the rules of the church. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. So now let's concentrate to Muhammad, because that's the point I'm going to make. That was just a prelude to show you that the Torah states that even the greatest, David, the, let's say, image of the Messiah, the type of the Messiah, and Moses, the image of the Father, who sets up the priesthood of the Israelites, who it's, the Israelites are called the Son of God, like all of them. Collectively, they're the Son of God, because he gave them birth out of Egypt, guiding them, just like Moses did, speaking to the Lord face to face. So even those people who are the best of the best, and the Jewish religious book, the Torah, says they're not perfect. So let's now proceed with some other things. So that's an account from Al-Tabari's history, the Tariq, volume 1. The prophet was eager for the welfare of his people, desiring to win them to him by any means he could. It has been reported that he longed for a way to win them, and part of what he did to that end is what Ibn Humaid told me from Salama, from Muhammad ibn Ishaq, from Yazid ibn Ziyad al-Mudani, from Muhammad ibn Kab al-Qurazi or Quraizi. That's the chain of narration, and I'm really sorry for the butchering of the Arabic names. You're going to hear a lot of butchering here, of pronunciations. When the Prophet saw his people turning away from him, and was tormented by their distancing themselves from what he had brought to them from God, he longed in himself for something to come to him from God, which would draw him close to them. With his love for his people and his eagerness for them, it would gladden him if some of the hard things he had found in dealing with them could be alleviated. He pondered this in himself, longed for it, and desired it. Then God sent down the revelation. By the star when it sets, your companion has not erred or gone astray, and does not speak from your fancy. That, I think, is Surah 53 of the Quran. When he reads God's words, have you seen Allat and Al-Uzza and Manat the third, the other? Again, that would be in Quran chapter 53. Satan cast upon his tongue because of what he had pondered in himself and longed to bring to his people. These are the high-flying cranes, and their intercession is to be hoped for. When Quraysh heard that, they rejoiced. Now the Quraysh were the chief merchant tribe of Mecca, and Mecca was like the center where all the, caravans were meeting once in the year, and they had 360 or 365 idols. I can't remember. It's just one for each day of the year, and so yeah, obviously they rejoiced. They were polytheists. They were actually let's say, something like the high priesthood. What he had said about their gods pleased and delighted them, and they gave ear to him. The believers trusted in their prophet with respect to what he brought them from their Lord. They did not suspect any sleep, delusion, or error. When he came to the prostration and finished the chapter, he prostrated, and the Muslims followed their prophet in it, having faith in what he brought them and obeying his command. Those mushrikun of Quraysh, that means polytheists, and others who were in the mosque also prostrated on account of what they had heard him say about their gods. In the whole mosque, there was no believer or kafir or unbeliever, the polytheists, who did not prostrate. Everyone prostrated. Only Al-Walid bin al-Mughira, who was an aged sheikh and could not make prostration, scooped up in his hand some of the soil from the valley of Mecca and pressed it to his forehead, instead of kneeling down. Then everybody dispersed from the mosque. Quraysh went out and were delighted by what they had heard of the way in which he spoke of their gods. They were saying, Muhammad has referred to our gods most favorably. In what he has recited, he said that they are high-flying cranes whose intercession is to be hoped for. Those followers of the Prophet who had emigrated to the land of Abyssinia heard about the affair of the prostration, and it was reported to them that Quraysh had accepted Islam. Some men among them decided to return while others remained behind. So some people from Abyssinia who left because of the war, let's return. The war is over. But Gabriel came to the Prophet and said, O Muhammad, what have you done? You have recited to the people something which I have not brought you from God. And you have spoken what he did not say to you. At that the Prophet was mightily saddened and greatly feared God. But God of his mercy sent him a revelation, comforting him and diminishing the magnitude of what had happened. God told him that there had never been a previous prophet or apostle who had longed just as Muhammad had longed, and desired just as Muhammad had desired, but that Satan had cast into his longing just as he had cast unto the tongue of Muhammad. So Satan came in because of the great desire of Muhammad to be loved by all the people. But God abrogates what Satan has cast and puts his verses in proper order. And that proper order is, you're just like other prophets and apostles. And God revealed, the verse, we never sent any apostle or prophet before you, but that when he longed, Satan cast into his longing. But God abrogates what Satan casts in, and then God puts his verses in proper order. For God is all-knowing and wise. That, I think it's in Quran, Surah 22. So God drove out the sadness from his prophet and gave him security against what he feared. He abrogated what Satan had cast upon his tongue, and referring to their gods, in the verse there, the high-flying cranes whose intercessions accepted, replacing those words with the words of God when Allat, Al-Uzza, and Manat the third, the other, are mentioned. Should you have males and he females as offspring? That indeed would be an unfair division. They are only names which you and your fathers have given them. So note that it says those, let's say, children of God, those female names, it has nothing to do with the truth. You thought of that. That's your idea. And as many as are the angels in heaven, I want you to note the relation of idolatry to angels. That's very important for the next videos. And why I said before that idolatry and the jealousy of God has nothing to do with wooden objects and stone objects. And as many as the angels in heaven, their intercession shall be of no avail unless after God has permitted it to whom he pleases and accept. That's Quran 53. Meaning, how can the intercession of their gods be of any avail with him? Again, note that how the incident is connected to angels in heaven and their intercession, and not just the objects in Kaaba. And that the intercession to angel can only be attained if the Lord wills. When there had come from God the words which abrogated what Satan has cast unto the tongue of his prophet, Quraysh said, Muhammad has gone back on what he said about the status of our gods relative to God, changed it and brought something else. For the two phrases which Satan has cast unto the tongue of the prophet had found a place in the mouth of every polytheist. They therefore increased in their evil and their oppression of everyone among them who had accepted Islam and followed the prophet. The band of the Prophet's followers had left the land of Abyssinia on account of the report that the people of Mecca had accepted Islam when the prostrate together with the Prophet drew near. But when they approached Mecca, they heard that the talk about the acceptance of Islam by the people of Mecca was wrong. Therefore, they only entered Mecca in secret and after having obtained a promise of protection. Among those of them who came to Mecca at that time and remained there until emigrated to Medina and taking part in the Battle of Badr alongside Muhammad, there was sorry for the butchering, from the family of Abd Shams ibn Abd Manaf ibn Qusay, Uthman ibn Affan, together with his wife Ruqayya, the daughter of the Prophet, Abu Khudhaifa ibn Utbah, with his wife Sal bint Suhail, and another group with them numbering together 33 men. And their purpose was to tempt thee away from that which we had revealed unto thee. That's from Kitab al-Tabakat al-Kabir, volume 1, page 237. And their purpose was to tempt thee away from that which we had revealed unto thee, to substitute in our name something quite different. Behold, they would certainly have made thee their friend, and had we won, give them the strength, and had we not given the strength, thou wouldst nearly have inclined to them a little. So for a little you would have inclined to those polytheists or those gods, and we, meaning Allah, who would not give you strength. Ibn Sa'd states that these verses were revealed to Muhammad immediately after the incident of the satanic verses. So that's the first. Then I'm going to go to another example, but this will be for the next video.